For this episode, we had a spontaneous COVID-inspired chat about conspiracy thinking and science communication. If you like to support our work, you can donate through paypal.me/Dennis Eckmeyer. You will find a link in the show notes. Thanks to those of you who are already supporting us. It's very much appreciated. My co-host is Bart Gurton. I'm your host, Dennis Eckmeyer, and this is episode 49 of the Science for Societal Progress podcast. Hey Bart, how you doing?
I'm I'm flat-footed for this question. I think I'm fine. Until 5 minutes, I was still stressed out from starting this recording session in the middle of the night, but now I'm fine.
All right, good. But this
wide
is
awake.
It's not that much later than usual for everybody to know.
I had some family business to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
Not Scorsese-like family business, just kids that were really, really, really sad because they got vaccinated today, and they are really afraid of syringes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But nothing that I couldn't fix with some burgers and some extra minutes of TV.
Yeah, so the situation in Germany is that we are reopening. There are some idiots having demonstrations, hygiene demonstrations, and it's like, Jesus, what kind of people are those? They are like the fringe of the fringe, kind of. It's like a subset of every weirdo, wacko, radical group you can think of. It's like the most idiotic of the anti-vaxxers, the most idiotic of the conspiracy theorists, etc. They all come together.
I heard an interesting note on that. So in Germany, we also call them often conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
And seemingly in science, they are called conspiracy narrators. Because a theorist makes them sound more scientific and gives them more credence than they actually needed. And very often, this is not a theory by itself. It can't be falsified or verified, which is the basis of a theory. It's a narration that often defies any kind of falsification or verification. So they should be called conspiracy narrators.
Ah, I see. I heard that some people switched the term conspiracy theory to conspiracy myth because that's kind of how it works. Like it's transmitted like a myth. It's not really a theory, as you say.
Yeah. I think the one thing that convinced me most was the point that it can't be verified or falsified. And at that point, you really have to say, this is not a theory. If I can't make any point anymore that you would accept to say, like, so the point at which you utter something and I can't give you any more arguments that would either verify or falsify it, we have left theory and started to get into the realm of belief. It's basically a religious thought where I have to believe the dogma, and I'm not interested in falsifying or verifying the dogma. The dogma is needed for me to be part of my religious thoughts.
Right. Yeah, that reminds me of an article that I've seen lately that was explaining, I think, 7 or 9, like basic things about conspiracy myths or conspiracy narrations, I guess. And that includes that they believe things that are opposite to each other, like contradictory. So the main point is to disbelieve whatever the authorities say, whoever the authority is. And it doesn't really matter if the way they explain to themselves that the authorities are wrong and are doing nefarious things and that there's a shadow government, etc. It doesn't matter, and even if their own explanations for that contradicts itself.
my favorite like circular argument of that is that in a conspiracy myth, if you then present new facts, it's actually taken as cover-ups. And the better the facts, the more conclusive the facts, the bigger the cover-up, the more the conspiracy actually has to grow. And thereby, the person who is the narrator of this conspiracy myth actually did an even better thing by following this giant conspiracy and trying to actually get them off that myth. You actually deepen their belief in the even stronger bad government or shadow entity that controls whatever conspiracy there is. It's
exactly, yeah. It's the so I guess it's the deep belief that there's something wrong and that there is some intelligence behind it of some sort.
So humans have a strong problem with expecting trivial things to happen to exceptional people. Like, for example, Elvis Presley dies of a heart attack or dies of natural causes. There must be some conspiracy. There must be somebody, Elvis is still alive because he's such a special guy, but he died of such a mediocre cause. Can't happen. And you find this over and over again. If something like people immediately grasp for like conspiracies and myths, if something mediocre or random happens.
Or mundane.
And it's or mundane. Yeah, exactly. I think mundane is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Something mundane happens with like large causes, especially, for example, in this virus situation. A virus is a pretty mundane thing from a scientific point of view. The flu is a virus. Every cough is a virus. Nothing special. But it has now special and extreme repercussions. And so there must be some conspiracy. Obviously, it has to be Bill Gates, who wants to make a lot of money with vaccinations because he's already the richest guy in the world, and I don't get anyway how he ever come into contact with viruses, except of computer viruses. But anyhow, this seems to be something that people can believe.
Yeah.
And I think another very important drive for them is that you are one of the few enlightened ones.
Oh, right.
Like,
yes.
you found something special. Like, it has to be the shadow ministry of dark things in Germany that actually got this virus on the street as a bioweapon for some reason. And now you're special because you actually found the truth.
Yeah. There's a sense of adventure in this, isn't there?
Yeah. And also, I think exceptionalism, like, I'm not one of the sheeple that that buy into like the government stories of just a mundane virus hitting
Wake up,
an economy.
sheeple!
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, this is funny and you can laugh about it, I think. But for example, there was like, I think for the 15th of May, those conspiracy narrators had somehow thought that there would be like military action in Germany and the state would overtake and fall into a dictatorship. And there were people on the internet, and if you read their comments, they sound really, really scared.
Yes.
Like scared for their lives and scared for the system. And I think this is, even though that is stupid, it's still real emotions. It's still people in real abject fear.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And there's basically no difference between a 45-year-old couch potato who thinks like Martians are going to take over with the killer virus, and he's super afraid of that, and my 6-year-old son who's super afraid of a syringe is going to save his life. Both are in abject fear. Both are. It's really hard to soothe them and calm them down again. But fear is fear.
Right.
It's a real feeling.
And once somebody is in fear, it's hard to change his mind or her mind, right? You lose part of your rational thought when you're in fear. So we talked about cognitive biases in the past. That was the first episode you were on, and I think those get worse in a situation where you have anxiety, if you are in fear, part of those is the belief that there's agency behind everything.
Yes.
And another one is confirmation bias. And I think these two are at the base of this kind of thinking. There's a situation that you cannot grasp that is maybe too complicated to grasp, and they cannot deal with uncertainty, and they cannot deal with not knowing. So they come up with an explanation for everything. And that might also be why it appears, at least to me. I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't research these things, but that's my impression, is that there is a surge in conspiracy thinking right now, and that might be due to the stress that a lot of people are in because of the measures that are taken against coronavirus.
In Kahneman's books, he decides that there's the system 1, system 2, and system 1 is prone to these biases. And system 2 isn't, but it's very it's energy consuming to use your system 2. You actually have to be to work hard and invest energy into thinking through problems. And if you're already in fear, and if you're already under the pressure of anxiety, it's even harder to invest this energy to think through problem on a very systematic basis, and to get yourself out of your easy system 1 approach to everything. But through that, I think the confirmation bias plays an important role, especially in there. And therefore, it's even worse if these people find other people, or in Germany, it's very often the neo-fascist scene that then uses all these fears to then try to get themselves into society.
And I think that's what they did in the 1930s, and that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to connect to all these fringe groups that are in fear. And we've seen that. I mean, there was a demonstration, and one of the people was trying to distance himself from the Nazis that were also there. So he shouted a slogan that he didn't want the Nazis there. And he was attacked by the others, verbally attacked, not physically, verbally attacked, that he was dividing them. So they, in their fear, they were fine with whoever was on their side in that moment. And I think that's something that the far right is taking advantage of.
It makes it hard to criticize any of the measures taken by the government in the corona crisis. And it's basically impossible that all the measures that they have taken are perfect.
No, they're not.
They're not. But having like a objective and factual discussion of the measures is at the moment problematic, because as soon as you start criticizing them, you basically feed all these conspiracy narrators that then use each normal argument that you might have, like, did the lockdown come too late? Do we need to open for sports again? How important is the opening of schools for children? All these arguments now are basically used by the wrong people for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I personally like the people that I've found the most curious are the people that are afraid of mandatory corona vaccinations. People try to discuss this with lawyers, and lawyers said, there's no law against that. The state can make vaccinations mandatory. Just the normal law professor laying out the law, basically, is enough to get these people freaked out about it. And I mean, at the moment, if there would be a vaccine available, I would pay for it. I would love it to be mandatory.
Since we were talking about is the government right or wrong, first of all, it's a pandemic. We don't know, right?
Yeah, true.
We cannot know if what we are doing is the best thing, if there was a better one, if we could have responded less aggressively, or if there's actually something coming up that is going to show us that we should have been even more aggressive against the virus. But that's one of these uncertainties that a lot of people are unable to deal with, I think. So on the one hand, what I hear often is that the government is not transparent enough, right? Everybody wants to understand how the government makes their decisions, what's the input that they get to make the decision, etc., etc. And now we have the situation, the government is very transparent, and now people are starting to ask, so where's the decision? Why are you changing your minds all the time? Why?
Yeah.
You know, if it's like this now, why didn't you know that 2 months ago? This is what I see now. It's a catch-22. On the one hand, you're supposed to be transparent. On the other hand, the public can't deal with transparency because they are looking for clear leadership. Gangelt is a municipality not far from where I live. 3 weeks before social distancing measures were officially put into effect in Germany, a couple showed up in the hospital with COVID-19. 10 days before, they had visited a carnival fest in that smaller municipality. A superspreader event. All 300 visitors and their household members were put under quarantine in their homes for 14 days. The region was hit early and hard. The town Gangelt belongs to, Heinsberg, reached a peak of more than 180 new cases in a single day, mid-March, when the social distancing measures came into effect in all of Germany. In comparison, my hometown borough is close to Heinsberg and it's more populous, but it never surpassed 52 cases in a day. Today, Heinsberg's new cases per day are not extraordinarily high anymore. But Gangelt has been the center of a scientific study on the superspreader event and how infections propagated through the population. And yeah, you wanted to talk about the Heinsberg study, I assume.
Exactly. So the Heinsberg study, as far as I understood, had as its target to look at the population of Heinsberg and to see how many people already have antibodies and if the number of people who basically got infected without knowing that they had the infection or without being tested is high or low, so that we have like an idea. There was this theory that there might be a lot more people infected than we know about, and that already like a large part of the population has had the virus without developing strong symptoms. Anyway, this the study was conducted by
Streeck, Professor Streeck.
Yeah, Streeck. And he was under a lot of pressure from the society to deliver results and to tell everybody how it is. And also from Armin Laschet, the Hobbit minister president of North Rhine-Westphalia. And because he wanted to get the state open again quite quickly.
Yeah, and Streeck had been openly criticizing the lockdown, right? Before.
Yeah, that was before. But to be honest, there's no fault as far as I can see in that. This is a scientific opinion, and you can have wrong scientific opinions.
I think he actually said it was more of his opinion as a citizen. And he was told that as an expert in epidemiology, he actually cannot have or should not be talking about his private opinions because it's been taken as the opinion of an expert. I think that was the latest that he said about this.
So I disagree with this point, by the way, because it actually takes away the opportunity of experts to have personal opinions or to utter them. And even so, that I would say I agree in this situation might have been smarter to not voice your personal opinion, but to stay strictly on script as a scientist. He has a right to have an own opinion and he has a right to utter it. So, and if the news actually then sells his personal opinion as his scientific statement, there might also be a problem with the way how we treat this guy in the news. But I don't know what kind of interview he refers to, and I wasn't present at the interview. Might have been a different way and he remembers it differently, or might have been just bad
Yeah.
reporting then. What I found more problematic is that he actually did something that we always talk about that scientists should do. He actually thought about how to convey his scientific message to the masses. And he opted to hire a public relations firm, basically, called Story Machine.
Yeah.
And but they're professionals.
Yes. But Story Machine sounds totally suspicious to me. It's like, I don't know.
Wouldn't have been my first choice as a name for a public, but on the other hand, for a public relations company, Story Machine sounds pretty on the nose, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. But it also sounds a lot like propaganda machine.
Now, what I wanted to refer to is I think that one of the owners is a former head editor of the Bild Zeitung.
The founder of Story Machine Bart is referring to is called Diekmann. He's a former chief editor at the right-leaning boulevard newspaper Bild. In our conversation, we don't go deeply into this part of the scandal, but to make it brief, according to an article I read, Story Machine has connections to politicians and to private companies lobbying for an early reopening of the economy, as well as personal acquaintance with Professor Streeck.
On the other hand, again, if I would look for somebody who's good at public relations, obviously the head editor of the biggest yellow press journal is going to be a good person to talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
Might not be a good person for a scientific story. But what I thought is like, this could have, like, I don't know. If I now go back into like my mindset before I knew all of that about Story Machine and know how the thing about Heinsberg panned out, but I'm in front of a big project. I know science communication is important. I need more than the typical science communicator can deliver, like on mass communication, like on outputs to radio stations, newsletters, press releases, etc., etc., etc. I need like a real.
There's no Christian Drosten.
Then I might have hired a company for that.
Yes, no, actually, that part makes sense, right? Yeah. One of the biggest problems with Story Machine was that they were doing public relations, but they were not at all able to convey scientific facts. Like they were not able to do science communication. And that's something that he should have known. So they were spreading some information about the study around, and they were promising that this will lead to the opening of everything. We will find out that all these measures are too harsh and we can reopen everything. And first of all, that was not the goal of the study. Obviously, you don't make a study with the end goal in mind, especially not with the end goal of a political decision in mind. Also, it was blinded, so they also took precautions that this wouldn't happen. And when the users on the social media platforms were asking questions about the data, they weren't able to answer.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. They weren't doing science communications at all. So.
No, I mean, I totally agree on the point that Story Machine shouldn't be approached for scientific communication. But the problem that I see is that we now basically often ask scientists to do their own science promotion, basically. That you have to like feed your data in so many channels. Like you publish the article, but then you already actually have to tell your university before publication that you might publish in a larger or in a well-read journal, so that they can have a press release.
Mm-hmm.
You have to write that press release. Then you, best of all, try to get it on some other media channels, etc., etc., etc. So that's quite a lot of work.
So it's not your press office that writes the press release?
No. The press release that we wrote for our last paper, I think my boss wrote that and then sent it off to them, and they changed some commas, and that's it. Because again, how can they write a press release? It's so complicated, the shit that we do. I don't know. I have no idea what these people are doing.
Yeah.
I guess they send it out to the newspaper.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, so I've been on the job market for these kind of jobs, right? Doing communications for institutes and stuff. And they really are like, oh no, you need to be a journalist and have studied communications and stuff. And you need to know science, etc. So you are able to write these things. And
what should a scientist now do? How do I find out if the PR agency that I hired for my study is going to help me? Is it going to be the next story machine that's going to ruin my reputation as a scientist? Or is this a proper PR agency with like real science communicators? And what's a real science communicator?
That's well, yeah, somebody who does it right. I am, obviously.
Oh yeah. What's the number of story machine again?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but isn't it a bit unfair? I mean, the guy tried to do the right thing, tried maybe to inform people early with like a professional channel.
Well, at least that's what he's saying right now, right? That's what he was trying to do.
I think that's believable. I would say that is in the realm to be believed. I think that usually that if I would be in, let's say there's a super pandemic of right-turning Drosophila, and people need to know now how these animals turn while walking. And suddenly my science is worth something. I would try to hire somebody who could be a proper spokesperson for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. So I feel like shouldn't he have had help from his institution? I don't know. It feels kind of weird that he went to this PR machine instead of asking his own PR office to help.
To come back to my original question, what do you think, or how do I, as a scientist, make sure that the person I'm talking to is a science communicator and not just a weird PR machine that might not represent me in the way that I want it to be represented?
So first of all, I would look at the work that I've done in the past. So if there's no science communication professional stuff going on in their previous work, then you'll know. And if they don't have any scientists on staff that have at least some sort of scientific education, I would not trust them with science communication.
So previous work and stuff that has a scientific background.
Right. What I see in the job descriptions for open positions very often is that they want the whole thing. They want you to have a PhD in science, in natural science, plus experience as a journalist, if possible, a second degree in journalism or some sort of communications, plus working experience.
If you have 2.5 lives to live, that should be sufficient to get an entry-level job.
Exactly, and then they don't pay you more than you receive as a doctoral student.
if they pay you at all, because you could still do like an internship.
Yeah, well, they expect you to have done that already.
With them.
Volontariat. They expect you to have already done that.
Sounds not too pleasant.
So that's like an internship. Yeah, that's not pleasant, and I'm not going to do that. So I have neither the time nor the money to afford spending another 2 years to get a master's in journalism and do another internship for 2 years. Do you communicate about COVID-19 or other pressing topics? When you do you get institutional support? Send your answers, questions, comments, or suggestions to info@scienceforprogress.eu or on Twitter @SciForProgress. You will find additional information in the show notes, alongside a link to the extended conversation that is already available to you, if you are a member on Patreon. If you like our podcast, please share it with your friends and colleagues. I thank you very much for listening. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, listener.